These teams didn't just defend, they dominated, broke records, and turned defense into an art form. You won't believe some of the plays and strategies they pulled off. Are you thinking about what we're talking about? Oh yes, your favorite defensive team that ruled the NBA throughout history.
1964-65 Boston Celtics. Bill Russell-led Dynasty. When people talk about legendary NBA teams, the 1964-65 Boston Celtics always enter the conversation. But if you want to know why they were truly special, the answer is simple: defense. Not flashy dunks, not wild scoring. It's just pure, old school, soul-crushing defense. This team didn't just play defense, they made defense terrifying. Led by the one and only Bill Russell, the Celtics finished the regular season with a 62-18 record, the best in the league. Their defensive rating, how many points they allowed per 100 possessions, was 88.7, which was the lowest in the NBA that season. That number alone shows how impossible it was to score against them. Imagine being an opponent running into a wall of green jerseys every time you touch the ball. That's what it felt like. Russell was the heart and soul of this machine. With 24.1 rebounds per game, he didn't just stop shots. He swallowed entire possessions. Opposing teams would throw up a shot, and before they could blink, Russell already had the ball in his hand starting a fast break the other way. But he wasn't alone in this chaos. Tom Satch Sanders was a defensive genius, always reading plays before they happened. Casey Jones, their guard, wasn't just a pest, he was a nightmare. He'd steal the ball, pressure the point guard, and never let anyone breathe easy. It was like being guarded by a mosquito with a doctorate in defense. Their playoff run proved just how elite their defense was. In the Eastern Division Finals against Wilt Chamberlain's Philadelphia 76ers, the Celtics won a tough 7-game series. Game 7 was especially dramatic. Boston's defense turned up the heat and completely shut down Philly when it mattered most. Then came the NBA Finals, where they faced the Los Angeles Lakers. Boston's defense was so tight that in the deciding Game 5, the Lakers couldn't even reach 90 points. Every shot was contested, every rebound grabbed, every fast break punished. Statistically, the team was near perfect. They didn't just win games, they suffocated opponents. The Celtics would often hold teams under 90 points, which was rare in that era when offenses regularly crossed the 100-point mark. Their ability to pressure the ball, block shots, and dominate the glass created a style of play that looked more like a defensive masterclass than a basketball game. And let's not forget the coach, Red Auerbach, who built this defensive identity. He didn't need everyone to score 30 points. He wanted grit, he wanted effort, and he got it. This Celtics squad was like a group of security guards who refused to let anything pass them, ever. Unfortunately, full footage from the 1964-65 season is limited. However, vintage clips still show the Celtics' defensive mindset. For example, a 1966 playoff game against the Cincinnati Royals gives a close look at how Bill Russell and the Celtics operated on defense. It's grainy, but the intensity is crystal clear. So the next time someone tells you that defense doesn't win championships, show them this team. Then sit back and say, this will shock you insane.
1982-83 Philadelphia 76ers, Moses Malone, Bobby Jones. When it comes to the most outstanding defensive teams in NBA history, the 1982-83 Philadelphia 76ers stand tall. They finished the regular season with a 65-17 record, the best in the league, demonstrating their strength on both ends of the floor. Despite defense often being overshadowed by offense, this team demonstrated how a dominant defense can lead to championship wins. The secret behind their stifling defense was their lineup. Moses Malone, the pillar of the paint, averaged 15.3 rebounds per game and made the all-defensive first team. He wasn't just blocking shots, he was stealing rebounds and turning defense into fast offense. Then there was Bobby Jones, the ultimate sixth man and a first-time Sixth Man of the Year recipient. His hustle and blocks were game changers during tight playoff moments. Alongside them, Maurice Cheeks anchored the perimeter, also earning defensive first-team honors for his quick hands and bright court sense. Their confidence peaked when Malone famously predicted 4-4-4, a 4-game sweep in each playoff round. True to his word, the Sixers went 12-1 in the playoffs, sweeping both the Knicks and Lakers and only dropping 1 game to Milwaukee. That postseason run was one of the most dominant defensive displays in NBA history. Vintage court footage shows this team moving in sync, bigs protecting the rim, guards sweeping passing lanes, and fast breaks ignited by defensive rebounds. It's grainy, yes, but watching it feels like stepping into a different era of basketball, one where defense was everything. So if you ask whether defense wins championships, show them the 82-83 Sixers. It'll shock you. Insane how clean, intense, and perfectly tuned their defense was.
1998-99 New York Knicks. Gritty playoff defense. Have you ever seen a team win on sheer grit and defense? That's exactly what the 1998-99 New York Knicks did. The season began late due to a lockout, but coach Jeff Van Gundy quickly built a squad that was tough as nails. With a shortened 50-game season, the Knicks finished 27-23, just sneaking into the playoffs as the 8th seed in the East. Not flashy, but solid. What is more shocking is that they scored only 86.4 points per game, 27th in the league, but their strength was on the defensive end. And defense, they did. New York ranked 4th in defensive rating, allowing just 97.5 points per 100 possessions. Imagine a wall that stops everything. That's what they felt like. Led by the big man Patrick Ewing, who averaged 17.8 points, 10.6 rebounds, and 2.4 blocks per game. The Knicks plugged every hole in their defense. Guards Allen Houston and Latrell Sprewell added perimeter pressure, stealing possessions, and sparking quick transitions. Their playoff run? Pure magic. The Knicks became the first 8th seed ever to reach the NBA Finals, showing the world that defense can carry you to the top. In the Eastern Conference Finals, they faced the Indiana Pacers. Game 3 was a thriller that swung on a clutch defensive stop. Against the San Antonio Spurs in the finals, their defense slowed down the Spurs' Twin Towers. But fairy tales aren't perfect. They lost in 5 but left everything on the court. So what makes them great? It's simple: grit, effort, and defensive unity. They didn't let teams score easily. They rebounded everything. They contested every shot. Watching them was like watching a fortress built brick by brick. This will shock you in saying how clean and relentless they were.
1993-94 Houston Rockets. Hakeem's dominance. There is no need to explain what defense means in basketball. You already know it. Wins championships. But have you ever seen a player defend as if his life depended on it? Let's talk about the 1993-94 Houston Rockets. That season, Houston finished with a strong 58-24 record. Their defense, flat out scary. They held teams to just 101.8 points per 100 possessions, ranking near the top in the NBA. But here's the real deal. Hakeem Olajuwon was the anchor. The man averaged 27.3 points, 11.9 rebounds, 3.6 blocks, and even 1.6 steals per game. How many big men do you know who do that? Go ahead, comment down. We'll wait. Also, do you remember Game 6 of the finals against the Knicks? Starks goes up for the game winner. Hakeem says, nope. That block didn't just stop a shot, it saved a championship. Hakeem wasn't alone. Otis Thorpe was grabbing boards as if it were lunch hour. Robert Horry was swatting shots and hitting clutch shots. The whole team played defense like they were protecting their homes. Doesn't that kind of hustle hit differently? Of course, maybe in the finals, they beat a physical Knicks team in 7 games, holding them under 92 points per game. It wasn't pretty, but it was tough, and it worked. You might ask, how did they win without a second superstar? By locking teams down and letting Hakeem go to work. So are the 94 Rockets one of the best defensive teams ever? You tell us. But one thing's for sure, Hakeem didn't just block shots, he blocked dreams.
2003-04 Detroit Pistons. Ben Wallace, Chauncey, Rip Hamilton. Some teams win with flash, others win with force. They won with fear. Not because they were dirty, but because they never let you breathe. This team wasn't built on superstars. It was built on stops, holding teams to just 84.3 points per game. The Pistons made every possession a nightmare. Their defensive rating, 95.4. That's not just good, that's lockdown security. Think your favorite team could survive that? Think again. Ben Wallace wasn't just a defender, he was a wall. A 4-time defensive player of the year. Big Ben protected the paint like it was sacred ground. Chauncey Billups, also known as Mr. Big Shot, brought control and killer instincts. In R.I.P. Hamilton, he ran off screens so fast defenders got dizzy, then turned around and played suffocating defense. And here's a twist that shocked the world. In the 2004 NBA Finals, they held the Lakers dynasty, yes, Shaq and Kobe's Lakers, to just 81.8 points per game. That wasn't a series, that was a shutdown. And if you want more breakdowns like this, don't forget to subscribe because we're just getting started. And what's coming next will shock you insane. The Pistons didn't care for fame, they cared for one thing: a defense that wins rings. And they did it by working as one deadly unit. No egos, no noise, just grit.
2007-08 Boston Celtics, KG, Perkins, Rondo, Thibodeau schemes. You're gonna be shocked. These guys held the Hawks to 65 points in Game 1 of the first round playoffs on May 4th, 2008. Final score, 99-65. Yes, just 65 in a high-stakes game. The Boston Celtics have had some unforgettable defensive performances, and two moments stand out like legends written in stone. First, the 2007-08 Boston Celtics. This team was a nightmare for opponents. With Kevin Garnett barking orders, Kendrick Perkins locking down the paint, and Rajon Rondo picking pockets, they didn't just play defense, they lived it. Add in Coach Doc Rivers and assistant Tom Thibodeau's intense schemes, and you've got a wall no team could break. The proof? Game 1 of the 2008 playoffs versus the Atlanta Hawks. Boston won 99-65. That's right, Atlanta only scored 65 points in a playoff game. If you saw it, you remember the energy, the traps, the rotations. It felt like watching a team play chess while the other side had checkers. Now, rewind to May 22nd, 1988, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Larry Bird versus Dominique Wilkins. You might remember Wilkins scored 47 points, but Bird wasn't just answering with his 34. He was guarding, hustling, and locking down when it mattered most. He scored 20 in the fourth quarter and made key defensive stops. Bird famously said Atlanta might as well forget Game 7 in Boston, and he meant it. Final score, 118-116. That's not just clutch, it's iconic. So which one shocks you more? A team scoring under 70 in the playoffs, or Bird outplaying a 47-point monster with smart defense? Comment down your answer. I want to give you a shout out because every true fan deserves it. Anyways, both moments remind us that Celtics basketball has always been about heart, hustle, and defense that wins games. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Up next, I'm going to share the blast, so stick with me because there are many more who are going to shock you in different ways.
2004-5. San Antonio Spurs, Tim Duncan's anchor defense. Let's not waste time repeating history because this one will shock you. The 2004-05 San Antonio Spurs didn't just play defense, they mastered it. If defense wins championships, then Tim Duncan was wearing the crown. This team had everything. Tim Duncan, known as the big fundamental, was the anchor. His blocks, rebounds, and help defense were unreal. Add Bruce Bowen, one of the best perimeter defenders ever, and Manu Ginobili's hustle, and you had a squad that made offense feel like running into a brick wall. That season, the Spurs allowed just 96.8 points per game, and they ranked #1 in defensive rating, giving up only 99.0 points per 100 possessions. Now here's where it gets wild. Game 5 of the 2005 NBA Finals against the Detroit Pistons, June 19th. It was intense. The Spurs won 96-95 in overtime. While Robert Horry hit the game winner, it was Duncan's 26 points and 19 rebounds that kept the Spurs alive. His defense was the quiet killer. And how about the Western Conference Finals? In Game 1 against the Phoenix Suns, the Spurs held a team averaging 110 plus points to just 94. They won 121-114, but it was the pressure and rim protection that slowed Phoenix's fast pace. Duncan had 28 points, 15 rebounds, and 3 blocks. That's not defense, it's domination. So now I ask, was this the best defensive team ever, or just one of the smartest? Let me know, because up next, we're digging into the 2015 Warriors, and yes, it gets crazier.
2014-15 Golden State Warriors. Switch heavy, Draymond Green led. The 2014-15 Golden State Warriors were not just a fun team with great shooting, they were a formidable opponent. They were also one of the best defensive teams in NBA history. Led by Draymond Green, this team used a new style of defense called switch heavy. That means players could quickly change who they were guarding. No matter who had the ball, the Warriors were ready. Draymond Green was the heart of this defense. He could guard every position, point guards, big centers, or fast wings. He was fast, smart, and strong. He stopped drives, blocked shots, and made the right decisions almost every time. That season, the Warriors had the best defensive rating in the league, 100.4 points allowed per 100 possessions. They also played at the fastest pace. This mix of fast offense and strong defense helped them win 67 regular season games and lose only 15. In the 2015 NBA Finals, their defense was the reason they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. After losing 2 of the first 3 games, Coach Steve Kerr made a big change. He moved Draymond to the center position and used a smaller lineup. This is now known as the death lineup. That lineup played great defense and turned the series around. The Warriors won the championship in 6 games. The 2014-15 Warriors proved that smart, fast, and flexible defense could win titles. And yes, they truly changed the game.
2012-13 Indiana Pacers, Paul George, Roy Hibbert's rim protection. Let's dive into one of the most underrated defensive teams in NBA history, the 2012-13 Indiana Pacers. This team wasn't flashy, but their defense was rock solid. They had the best defensive rating in the NBA that season, allowing just 99.8 points per 100 possessions. Their strategy was simple yet effective: protect the rim and challenge every shot. At the heart of their defense was Roy Hibbert, a 7'2" center known for his shot blocking and rim protection. He averaged 2.6 blocks per game, making opponents think twice before driving to the basket. His presence in the paint was a game changer. On the perimeter, Paul George emerged as a defensive star. He could guard multiple positions and was known for his quick hands and anticipation. George averaged 1.8 steals per game, often turning defense into offense. The Pacers' defense shone brightest during the 2013 Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat. In Game 6, they held the Heat to just 77 points, forcing a Game 7. Hibbert's rim protection and George's perimeter defense were key factors in that win. The 2012-13 Pacers may not have won the championship, but their defense left a lasting impression. They proved that teamwork and commitment on the defensive end can take a team a long way.
2015-16 San Antonio Spurs, second best defensive rating in history. They didn't talk much, but when the 2015-16 Spurs stepped on the court, you felt it. Silent killers, quiet executioners. The kind of defense that didn't just stop you, it made you question your whole offensive strategy. This team posted a 99.0 defensive rating, second best in NBA history since the stats creation. They held teams to 92.9 points per game in a season when scoring was exploding. That's insane. Kawhi Leonard was the face of the defense. He locked up stars like it was nothing. That season he won his second straight Defensive Player of the Year, and honestly, who else were you gonna give it to? His hands alone deserve a Hall of Fame plaque. And then you had Tim Duncan in his final season, still anchoring the paint like a wall that wouldn't fall. LaMarcus Aldridge brought size and surprising agility, and the bench full of players who knew exactly what Popovich demanded: smart, tough, and help defense every possession. The Spurs went 67-15 that year, including 40-1 at home. Yeah, just one loss in San Antonio, they were unbeatable on their floor. It was a kind of defense that didn't get flashy headlines but made other teams miserable. The 2015-16 Spurs weren't loud, they didn't dance or flex, but defensively, they shut the NBA down. Total control, quiet domination, a team built on trust, rotations, and a game plan that didn't blink. You still think offense wins championships? Think again.
2020 Los Angeles Lakers defensive identity post-bubble. You're not ready for this, because what the 2020 Lakers did on defense was insane. No, they didn't win the championship that year, but what if I told you they were still the best defensive team in the entire NBA, even with injuries, drama, and all the pressure of defending a title? Well, do you trust me? You have to, because after winning the championship in the NBA bubble, the Lakers returned with a mission: defend their title with defense. Under coach Frank Vogel's guidance, they became the top defensive team in the league, boasting a defensive rating of 106.8, their best since the 1999-2000 season. Even with injuries to key players like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the Lakers' defense remained elite. They held opponents to just 106.8 points per game, the second best in the NBA that season. Role players stepped up. Dennis Schroeder's on-ball pressure, Alex Caruso's hustle, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's perimeter defense made life difficult for opposing offenses. One standout performance was against the Brooklyn Nets, where the Lakers' defense shone despite missing stars. They disrupted the Nets' rhythm, forcing turnovers and contesting shots, showcasing their defensive depth. The 2020 Lakers taught us that defense wins games, even in an era dominated by offense. Their commitment to team defense, communication, and effort set them apart. They may not have repeated as champions, but their defensive identity left a lasting impression. 2023-24 Minnesota Timberwolves, best defensive rating, Rudy Gobert DPOY. The 2023-24 Minnesota Timberwolves weren't just good at defense, they broke the game. They had the best defensive rating in the entire NBA, just 109.0 points allowed per 100 possessions. That's not normal. That's lockdown, throw away the key defense. And guess who led that monster wall? Yes, you are smart, you guessed right, Rudy Gobert, the man who just won his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. Say what you want about his offense, but if your team's trying to score in the paint, good luck. Rudy was swatting shots, changing angles, and living rent-free in opponents' heads. But it wasn't just Rudy. Jaden McDaniels? A defensive ninja on the perimeter? Anthony Edwards? He turned into a two-way demon. And together, this squad made elite teams look confused. Now, if you didn't watch the playoffs, you missed some crazy stuff. First, they swept the Suns, clean, gone. Then, they came back from 20 points down in Game 7 to beat the defending champs, the Denver Nuggets. That comeback, historic. Defensive grit at its finest. This wasn't just basketball, it was a defensive war zone. Every pass, every screen, every shot, they made it a nightmare. So now ask yourself, where does this team rank all time? Because when we talk about the most outstanding defensive teams ever, this Wolves squad isn't just part of the conversation, they might be the loudest voice in the room. 2025 NBA Finals, Game 1. A thrilling battle between Pacers and Thunder. The 2025 NBA Finals kicked off with a game that basketball fans will remember for a long time. The Indiana Pacers faced the Oklahoma City Thunder in a match full of energy, surprises, and an incredible comeback. The Pacers, trailing by 15 points in the 4th quarter, shocked everyone with their determination and skill. The story of the game reached its peak when Tyrese Halliburton scored a game-winning 21-foot jumper with just 0.3 seconds left on the clock, sealing a 111-110 victory for the Pacers. This moment will go down in NBA history as one of the most thrilling finishes. Halliburton was the hero of the night. Even though his start was quiet, he showed calm and focus when it mattered most, finishing with 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. But it wasn't just him. Pascal Siakam led the team with 19 points and 10 rebounds, while Obi Toppin gave a big boost off the bench with 17 points. Miles Turner was also important inside the paint, adding 15 points and 9 rebounds, and Aaron Nesmith contributed a solid double-double with 10 points and 12 rebounds. On the other side, the Thunder's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was unstoppable, scoring 38 points, the 3rd highest in an NBA Finals debut. Yet, despite his amazing effort, the Thunder couldn't keep their lead in the final moments, letting the Pacers steal the win. What's truly amazing is that this was the biggest 4th quarter comeback in NBA Finals history since 2011. The Pacers improved their record to 4-0 in series openers this postseason, showing they're a serious team to watch. LeBron James, a basketball legend and Halliburton's former teammate in the Olympics, praised the young star's leadership and cool head under pressure. Fans everywhere are buzzing about this game and what it means for the rest of the finals. So what do you think? Can the Pacers keep this energy and take a 2-0 lead, or will the Thunder bounce back strong? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk basketball.